Welcome back, Chemistry 30. We are done the MS3 section, so we'll look at reviewing what we did so far and look at what's going to be on the open book exam. So first of all, the sections MS 3.1 was basically an introduction to organic chemistry. 3.2 was the alkane group, 3.3 the alkene group, 3.4 the alkyne group, and then 3.5 was the aromatic hydrocarbon section, particularly those compounds that have a benzene ring. And then lastly, we looked at hydrocarbons based on their functional group. So they're made up of carbon and hydrogen, but they have an extra attachment which distinguishes one compound from another. All right. The open book exam that we'll be doing, very similar to the same format we use in class. Multiple choice will be 12 questions. You can expect 2 questions from each of these sections here. So 2 questions from here, 2 questions from here, etc., including 2 questions from 3.6, and I'll kind of give you a hint in terms of what I could ask about that. Part 2 will be short answer. There will be 3 questions. Those will be worth 23 marks, so a grand total that works out to be 35 marks, similar to what we do in class. Okay, so multiple choice I talked about. Short answer questions, they're actually way more than 3 questions because they're made up of multiples. So for example, question 1 is A to I. It's actually worth 9 marks. So what I'll do there is I'll give you structures of various compounds, and you just simply have to name them. So using the naming rules. So it's crucial that you go back and go through each of these sections to see how you name these and how you draw these. Because 3.2 to 3.5, I'll have all alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, and aromatic hydrocarbons as well. So you don't need to know how to name these. You don't need to know that, but these ones here you do. Okay, so make sure you go back. Then number 2 is going to be vice versa. I'll give you the name, and you have to draw the structure again from these sections here. All right. So basically, very similar to what we did in class. So you should be able to go back and see how you did that. Then the hand-in assignment that you did. So the 3.6, which we looked at esters, ethers, carboxylic acids, etc. What I'm going to get you to do is choose any of those any two compounds based on their functional group, and draw and name an example. So I think in the hand assignment you're supposed to have 3 examples for each, so I only need to see 1. State 1 property of compounds that are found in a particular group, and describe an application of a compound found in this group. That's going to be worth 5 marks. So any 2s, you can choose alcohols, carboxylic acids, aldehydes, ketones, whatever 2. And again, it's an open book exam, right? So you get to actually use your notes. Okay, so I'll go through that, and I'll give you, you're also going to receive a cheat sheet. I'll go through that next. But the comment here, since this will be an open book exam, there won't be a rewrite. So try to do really well this first time through it, and you should, because it's an open book exam. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me online, etc., and I can maybe give you a hand if you have a particular question about something. Okay, so that is the format. Now the cheat sheet that I will have on Google Classroom will look like this. So one side, of course, so I told you in class that I would give you this. So you'll have one sheet that has this on it, so you can get all the prefixes. 3 carbons is propane, 7 carbons heptane, etc. And of course you'll have this. So the alkyl groups, the substituted groups, the methyl, ethyl, and propyl. I don't think we have any with butyl, but methyl, ethyl, and propyl will do. And on the flip side of that, I will have this sheet, which will be great. So alkenes, alkynes. Now if you look over here, so all of these, the alkenes, alkynes, we had carbons attached to hydrogens, and of course we could have double bonds and triple bonds. Now if we take a look over here at that hand-in assignment you did, based on functional groups, so the attachment that is there that makes one compound different. So if you look at alcohols, there could be a string of carbons and hydrogens, but there's an OH attached. That's significant of an alcohol. If I have a carbon and hydrogen group and a carbon hydrogen group, and if they're joined together by an oxygen, that's an ether group. Haloalkanes, those are the ones we did together in class. They are signified by carbon and hydrogen, but they're attached to a fluorine or chlorine or some other halogen. Amines, carbons attached to hydrogens, but then there's an attachment to an N, which that is further attached to H's. Okay, so this kind of gives you a hint in terms of a functional group. And in the multiple choice section, I have 2 questions based on that, and all it is I'll give you a structure, and you have to simply say, is it an alcohol, an ether, an amine? So the key thing is looking for these little attachments on there. So you can use this sheet to do that. It's relatively straightforward. So for an amide, for example, look for a carbon that's attached double bond to an O and an N, and that's an amide. Okay? An amine would be just a carbon attached to an N. There's no double bond oxygen. All right? So you'll have that, so you could get that sheet, download it, or whatever you need to do. And again, it's interesting because this will be an open book exam, and you'll be able to use your notes, and hopefully you'll be okay. I'll put in Google Classroom and the due date is for handing it in, and we'll go from there. All right, we'll see you again.